Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Chassidus in the morning. 15 minutes to change your life. We're going to be learning Mayim Rabim. It's 2 different versions. You can find it in many different places. It's translated in a few places. In this lesson, Mayim, you have one from the Heritage series. You have it in the Sichos. You have it in maamer from the Rebbe. A lot of different places. It's a short maamer. It was said, and it's one of these, I think it was one of the first Heritage series. I have this, was given to me way back in 2004. It's a long time ago. This is a very powerful maamer, very fundamental, and then, like I said to you, it's short. This was said in the Rebbe's room after he had the heart attack in 1977. The Rebbe had a heart attack on Shmini Atzeres, I think it was, and after Mitzi Simchas Torah, the Rebbe spoke from his room, very weak. You could hear in his voice, very weak. You can find it online. The video, there's a video of it, and you hear the Rebbe's voice. And so the next few weeks, the Rebbe would speak Mitzi Shabbos from his room until he finally went home. But then the Farbrengen also would be Mitzi Shabbos. It wasn't being Shabbos because the Rebbe didn't have if they wanted to give the Rebbe a break, so he wouldn't, because it's a lot of energy trying to speak on Shabbos. And so this maamer was recorded, and like if you see, you'll say Bechedre on the top of it, like in the beginning of the maamer, it says Motzei Shabbos Pashas Noach Bechedre in his room, 1977, Tavshin Lamed Ches. So essentially, so what are we going to discuss? What is this Mayim Rabim? Mayim Rabim in Chassidus explains in Kabbalah, Zayah brings down that the Mayim Rabim, which is the many waters, is referring to, in a deeper sense, just like water comes and washes and inundates you, and it's like, if you ever go to the beach and you have waves come and they crash on you, and it pulls you and it drags you along and you don't have any control, so to speak, of it. So too, you have the financial concerns, you have things that bother you, take you and take you over, and it just stresses you out, and it's hard. So the logic, or comes out of that, how do we see it? And this is sort of the question, sort of what the maamer is trying to reframe ourselves, is how do we see that? Do we see that as debilitating and pulling us down, or is it uplifting and strengthening? And how do we come contact with it, and how do we deal with it? That's what we're going to discuss. We'll jump straight in, and we'll take maybe a week. Shouldn't take so long. And then we have another maamer coming up after this that I'm very excited for. Okay, in this book, this is an old version, so I'm not sure in the newer version if it's the same, but if it is, it's on the first page. With the help of God, Motzei Shabbos Pashas Noach in his room, 1977. So it says in the pasuk in Shir Hashirim, Mayim Rabim that the many waters won't be able to extinguish the love, and the rivers won't be able to wash it away. So Rashi explains that neither the mighty nations nor their leaders will ever succeed in washing away the burning love that they didn't have for Hashem. This is so to speak, the Pashat Pshat. The Rebbeim explain Mayim Rabim, these many waters him called Tiras of Harnas, that the many waters are rarely referencing to the financial concerns and the thoughts of this physical world that are bothering us. Vim calls there, but even though you have these concerns that they're bothering you, distracting you from davening, distracting you from your life, and it can be very debilitating. They can't extinguish the love that's hidden within every soul of the Jewish people. Meaning, even though you come and we think to ourselves that, when you have these thoughts that you're stressed about work, and it makes it hard to daven, or hard to think, and all these things, all like Shabbos, It's hard to concentrate, and relaxing on Shabbos because you have all these stresses. So it's naturally, it seems to us that stops us from being able to connect to God, and it shows that we don't have proper betachon, and really, it's a problem. But what we're saying is, and what the Rebbeim are saying, that it's not the case. It can't extinguish the love. It can't wash it away. And the love for God, this doesn't interfere. It doesn't stop us being able to have love for God. And ultimately, we're going to say, not just doesn't stop us, it's really, it's going to help us. And if we just have to change our frame of reference, and you'll see everything will be different. And the river don't be able to wash it away. Hey, and even though, what does it mean the rivers don't be able to wash it away? Just like you've seen, unfortunately, in videos, especially, the last month or two, we had all these like hurricanes and stuff. You see cars and houses being washed away, from floodwaters. That even though there's these floodwaters, no, we saw that in Kranites even. Even when you have these thoughts that are, hey, they're very bothersome. You can't sleep at night properly, and you're stressed. That when you become like a stress ball, you can't sleep, and it's distracting, and it's stressful because of these things. Whatever it is that's bothering you, that's stressing you out. Until they're constantly raging. These thoughts, you can't even sleep at night, and it's distracting you. You can't concentrate on anything else. It's always there. It could be that you're stressed about shidduchim. You're stressed about how to pay, your kids' tuition. How you're going to pay for the wedding. Whatever stress that there is. Just like rivers, just like rivers that are constantly running, and they don't stop. And now God only goes the great force. As you see, these the currents of these rivers, that if you go into it, unfortunately, it's very dangerous, can take you away. Even though this is what happens, it says it won't wash it away, and even more, it cannot extinguish the love, which is a very powerful statement. Because when we're stressing, and we have issues that we're worried about, like when I'm going to get married, and what's going to happen, and how am I going to afford anything, and what's going to be in my life. And I remember, besides the ones that I have now, I remember when I was younger, I had these stresses, and they're very stressful. So we seemingly these things that stress us out, they could hold us back, and a lot of times it feels like it takes us away from being able to daven and learn and connect to God properly. And even more that if anything is showing us that we're not connected to God, because that's always stressing. But he's saying, even though you have all these things, they're not going to take you away. It's not going to stop you. Let's see. Base. So what does this mean? Let's elaborate on this concept, tiras parnasa. Financial concerns. So it's written, on the work of your hands, that's what you'll eat. What does this mean? That even though, when it says the work of your hand, the implication is that your hand is what you have to work with, but not with your mind. Because even though the way God set it up is that we have to do things according to nature, because technically, why can't God just give me the money? I'll do whatever I need to do. Like I'll go learn all day, we'll do whatever we have to do, and God will give me the money. What I have to go work, because that's the way God set it up. That's what He wants. But that way that He set it up is that it should only be that it should be with your hands, so to speak, meaning very simple and not using your mind. Your mind should be free, like He'll explain. You have to put in your action that it should include this bracha that Hashem wants to give. Hashem wants to give you parnasa, but He needs you to do something. It's like the story that this guy wanted to keep on davening to Hashem to win the lottery. He davens for years, and he never gets it. One day, he's crying to Hashem, why can't I get it? So a heavenly voice comes down from Shemayim and he says, Moshe, can you do me a favor? Can you please buy a ticket? And the point is that what we're saying here is so true. Like Hashem wants to give, we have to do something. We have to make the keli. That's how He set it up in that way. So even though you have to do this keli, that Hashem will bless you, everything that you do, that you have to do something. And even to the extent, because of the great concealment, not just you have to do something, you have to put in a lot of effort, you have to work hard. I had friends working, 12, 14 hours. If you ever done like Lubavitcher, I remember I worked in Mashkiach years ago, hours on end. It was exhausting. So you have to do this, even though that could be the case. But nevertheless, but ultimately, when you do that, that shouldn't totally consume you. You just have to work with your hands and the other external faculties. But not your deeper, higher level faculties, like the mind and the heart, meaning where's your kach? That's what he's saying. It's a very important point. He's saying, even though you have to work, and you have to put yourself into it. And if you're working in high stressful jobs, you have to do it. But that's not where your kach is. Where are you really? Where's your mind? Where's your heart? Where's your passion? It has to be Torah mitzvahs. Because your mind and your heart is meant to be set, like kaddish, like separated to serve Hashem. That's the whole purpose why you're here. The whole purpose why you're here is not to work. It's to reveal godliness. So he goes. And so what he's saying is, what is Torah Parnasa? That it's true you have to go work. He's not saying that you don't have to go work. He's saying, of course you have to go work. And of course you have to be in this world. But you have to make sure that where's your passion, where does your passion lie, is in the right things, in the Torah mitzvahs. And it's not just, and it could be in the job that you have, your passion is there because of the effect you can have in connecting people to God or bringing godliness over there. That's also, but the passion is with the godliness and with the reason why you were created, and not in the thing itself. And he says in here, in this paragraph, even though you do have to use your mind, you can't go to work and say, oh, I can't think, I have to say, we're not saying that you have to put your mind aside and you don't think when you go to work. Of course you got to think. And sometimes you put in a lot of effort. But this is only what is required. But he shouldn't be overusing it. Meaning, again, the simplest way of understanding it is you have to make sure that your head is on straight, so to speak. That why are you doing whatever you're doing? But you got to do it. You got to go to work. And you can even be in there, but you have to recognize that the purpose of you being in this world was not to work, not to become somebody in this work. The purpose is to reveal godliness in this world and connect to Hashem. It could be in your work you connect to Hashem, and it could be that's what you have to do, and you can enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with enjoying the work, but the focus is, am I serving Hashem? And that's where our passion has to be. And specifically, and specifically being the fact that the blessing of Hashem is what's going to make us rich. That's what it says. And the work is only the garment for it. And also he underscores, he boldens the garment. And the work is not the source of the bracha, it's Hashem the source of the bracha. The work is the keli you have to do. It's not that the work is the source of your parnasa, it's just the vessel, the way you have to do it. You have to make things look natural. God doesn't want to just give it to you without work, but it doesn't work that way. And it'd be you wouldn't even appreciate it and wouldn't be valued. So you have to work. Move on, it's understood. Just like garments, just when you put on clothing, just like putting on garments. If anything, you put on too many clothing or too long of clothing, you trip over yourself. You're wearing long pants or skirts too long, you're going to trip up. So if you're focused, if you think that your work is the source of your bracha, so then you just get yourself in the way. And this is one of the biggest challenges. What he's saying here, he's saying it's God that's giving you the bracha. And that's all you have to know. God is one that's giving you the bracha. And just that's all you need to focus on. I got to go to work, But don't get caught up in thinking the amount of hours I put in is the amount of money I'm going to get. God is the one who's going to give you the money, and you got to do the natural thing. And you have to figure out what's natural. You can speak to your mashpia, or speak to like someone to define what needs to be done, and you could do it. And it could be that you have, and we see in some people work in high-paying jobs and they have barely any money. It could be because they're paying a lot of tax, or it could be because they have a lot of bills, or whatever it is. Some people have a simple job, but they're living very comfortably. I had a friend, he worked in a very simple, like a friend's father. He worked in a very simple job, like, in a simple factory, nothing, you don't need a high school diploma or anything. And he's retired, he has a house, and he's living happily, learning all day, doing his thing. And he sort of was like this. He worked, but it wasn't his kach. His kach was in the shul, was in the davening, the learning, and helping the shul out. He was like the gabbai. And this is what we're saying. And even more, we're saying that if your mind is in the wrong place, so then you just get in the way of yourself. And that's sort of the key. The key is to remind yourself and to fereng and to mizbeinen, really think about that it's a blessing of God who's gives me the money. And I just have to do the natural derech hateva things. I can't sit and say, I'm not going to work and God will just provide for me. God can do that, but that's not the way he wants it. That's not the way he was. And it wouldn't, and we would lack the value of it. Let me just finish off a little bit. Yeah. And this is what it means to this parnasa, the financial concerns. Because why is it financial concerns? Because the agam shehu b'matzav namuch, the fact that you have financial concerns shows where you're holding. Sheyesh le'tiras parnasa, that you have concerns, you're bothered. Which shows a lack in the meditation of that. We didn't meditate properly to recognize that it's God's bracha that's going to give us our money. So what am I stressed about? God's in charge. I just got to put in, go show up. I got to show up to the program, and everything else gets taken care of. But the fact that we haven't thought of that, we haven't recognized, or we didn't internalize that message, so we're stressed. Because what's going to be? Yeah, I'm going to work, but how am I going to support myself? I'm going to support my family. How am I going to support myself? How am I going to have enough money, to live? How am I going to do this? And that stress is coming because, what do you mean? But God's in charge. That's what we should be realizing. Hey, God's in charge. I wouldn't have to stress about it. I'm good. I have nothing to worry about. I don't have any money. It's fine. God's in charge. What does God want me to do? I should go to work. Let me do the mitzvah of going to work. And I'm going to go get a job. I'll find a job. I'll do whatever it is. So, nevertheless, even though you have that stress, but you're not in the right frame of mind, nevertheless, even though you're not holding in the right place, your mind is you're not thinking about it correctly, but nevertheless, not going to stop you, and you still can connect, and you still, the love for God that you have is still there, and it still can be revealed, and you're going to connect to this. And that's the end of base, and we're going to continue tomorrow. Okay, so essentially we're asking what happens, let's say, things that are your mistake. Let's say credit card debt. You spent too much money. Should I be stressed then? So the general rule of thumb is we shouldn't be stressed. God's in charge. That doesn't mean we should make bad decisions. And of course, we have to make the right decision. But whether they made the right decision or not, we should. There's never a place for stress. Stress is showing that we haven't recognized that God's in charge. Now, if we have debt that we have to take care of, so we'll take care of the debt, and we have to sit down and not stress about it. But stress, really, what it does, it's like they say in stress, like a rocking chair. You go back and forth, but you don't go anywhere. That's a really stressed out. Just to stress you out, but you don't actually do anything. What needs to be done is say, hey, how do I take care of that? We have a friend, Benjamin and Yosef Wood Eisenberg. They had a debt of, college debt of like $78,000 or something. And they paid it off. They sat down, they made a plan, and they followed the system, and they did it. And that's sort of the approach. The approach is not to stress out about it. The approach is to say, what do I need to get done in order to fix this? You know what I mean?
So basically